TSA warns that longer lines are to be expected if the government shutdown continues. If agents can't afford to go to work, travelers can't afford to be late catching their flight. That is, if they still have one. Christine Leinenen, the mother of Christopher Drew Leinenen, was involved in the making of this mural to honor her son and his boyfriend, Juan Ramon Guerrero. For years, UCF has had a dignified space to mourn the 49 victims, something Christine says is lacking in downtown Orlando. Behind me is where the first officer on scene saw the gunman and radioed for backup. But it wouldn't be until 2:09 a.m., 8 minutes after gunfire started, before officers would even enter the building. Disney did announce that Jimmy Kimmel will be going back on air, citing insensitive jokes as the reason for the suspension. And although their control room will no longer be empty, senior film major Cameron O'Neill worries what this incident could mean for future film projects. Breaking news, Hurricane Milton has now upgraded to a Category 5 hurricane. However, once it hits land, that strength will lessen, and it could be anywhere from a Category 3 to a Category 1 by the time it hits Orlando. Uber has just announced a new pilot program that will allow women and non-binary riders and drivers the option to pair with only women. Within the next few weeks, the feature will be available in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Detroit. Beginning September 21st, nightclubs in downtown Orlando will be limited to just one club per block or 300 feet. The Orlando City Council passed the ordinance yesterday in hopes of balancing downtown's nightlife and introducing a more family-oriented environment. Luigi Mangione has just been named a person of interest in the United Healthcare shooter case. According to The Guardian, he was at McDonald's when an employee recognized him and contacted the authorities. On Sunday evening, a man released bear spray as he was exiting the number 4 train at 14th Street Union Square in Manhattan. A TikTok creator posted that he was approaching the train when he saw people running away while coughing and covering their mouths. A comment underneath his video said that the bomb, presumably the bear spray, felt like shards and particles in their throat. A small aircraft made an emergency landing on I-95 Monday evening, hitting a car in the process. Both the passenger of the plane and the pilot were not injured, and the 57-year-old driver of the car was taken to a nearby hospital with minor injuries. Eyewitnesses said that the only part of the car not totaled was a driver's seat.
On June 12, 2016, Orlando faced one of the most devastating tragedies in mass shooting history at Pulse nightclub. Almost 10 years later, victims' families are continuing to demand answers from the Orlando Police Department. Charge on Air reporter Casey Stone tells us more.
3 years after the 2016 Pulse nightclub shooting, Dr. Zachary Blair co-founded the No Pulse Museum Coalition to fight for a proper green space memorial for the 49 victims. But public record requests from the city led the coalition to find discrepancies between what police officials said happened the night of the shooting and the official records. Now, Blair is suing the city for transparency after being denied the unredacted active shooting protocols from 2016.
It's not always the crime, it's the cover-up. That's the crime. And not releasing these records and lying to the public and gaslighting the public. And we can't have accountability until we get the facts.
The city cited Florida Statute 119.071 and a Miami appellate court ruling, arguing the redacted records count as security-related operational plans that remain exempt from public release. Behind me is where the first officer on scene saw the gunman and radioed for backup. But it wouldn't be until 2:09 a.m., 8 minutes after gunfire started, before officers would even enter the building. Uvalde High graduate Dr. Jeffrey Badger looked into the Orlando Police Department's response and found that the OPD's 2015 active shooter lesson plan states that the typical active shooter incident lasts approximately 5 to 10 minutes. Several officers were awarded for their response, and OPD Police Chief John Mina described their actions as heroic and courageous. Badger says that Mina was a master in media manipulation when it came to controlling the narrative behind Pulse.
He said the officers chased the gunman through the building. No, that's not true. The gunman was already in the bathroom when they entered the building. They said the officers forced the gunman to stop shooting. No, his AR-15 jammed. It wasn't just he got a few facts wrong. He just made stuff up.
Badger's research, which is referenced in the lawsuit, is published on his website, thepulseshooting.com. In Orlando, Casey Stone, The Charge on Air.
If you're packing for a trip, you might want to add patience to that list. Charge on Air reporter Casey Stone tells us how the government shutdown is affecting travel.
On October 1st, thousands of federal employees all over the country were furloughed after the government shut down. But despite the shutdown, employees working for agencies like the Transportation Security Administration are considered essential and must continue to show up to work unpaid. Tatiana Finley, a UCF alum and executive board member of the AFGE Local 556, is no stranger to government shutdowns, having worked 3 of them over the past 21 years as a TSO. But with an hour commute to Orlando International Airport, working without pay can mean having to choose between getting gas or paying the water bill.
You're having to do that mental math of, do I pay my mortgage? Do I pay my car note? It's really hard to be present doing your job when you do not know whether you're going to be able to feed your family next week.
TSA warns that longer lines are to be expected if the government shutdown continues. If agents can't afford to go to work, travelers can't afford to be late catching their flight. That is, if they still have one. Like TSA employees, FAA workers, including air traffic controllers, are essential. But within the first 3 days of them working without pay, the U.S. saw over 14,000 flight delays and 210 cancellations. Staffing shortages have been reported all over the country, including in Burbank, where an air control tower was left unmanned for more than 5 hours on Monday evening, and in Nashville, where flight delays were averaging nearly 2 hours. Orlando, of course, is no exception, and Sandra Moore is feeling the effects firsthand.
I was supposed to leave around 3 p.m. and it's been an hour. Not much information has been provided about why.
As of October 10th, there are still no signs indicating when the government will reopen. In Orlando, Casey Stone, The Charge on Air.
The clause came out on Tuesday as competitors meowed their way through a one-of-a-kind feline face-off. Charge on Air reporter Casey Stone tells us about UCF Kitty's viral meowing contest.
On October 14th, hundreds of students gathered outside of the Addition Financial Arena to compete in a meowing contest. Hosted by UCF Kitty, later revealed as Liam Ryan. Contestants dressed in cat ears, inflatable costumes, and superhero outfits lined up to give the crowd their best. Some took a classic approach, while others tried to stand out.
Meow.
The crowd's reaction dictated whether or not the contestant would proceed to the next and final round. After competing against 123 different meows, the winner took home a bag of cat food and a Labubu gifted from a fellow contestant. Ryan says that the idea behind the contest came from wanting to bring people together.
I knew it was going to be pretty popular just because cats are pretty universally loved, and a meowing contest is really dumb and absurd. So
Ryan went viral last semester under the alias Milk Maniac when he gathered hundreds of people outside the student union to watch him drink a gallon of milk. Sociology professor Dr. Michael Armato says the spectacle could be something as simple as just wanting a break away from our phones. In 2022, a Philadelphia man named Alexander Tominski gained national attention for eating a rotisserie chicken for 40 days straight. Similarly, in 2024, a content creator named Anthony Poe went viral as New York's Cheese Ball Man. Events like these, as well as various other contests, have become a steady trend in recent years. Armato says that the obnoxious nature of these events is likely why they're so alluring.
There is probably long-standing traditions of doing things that are absurd, and the absurdity is the point, right? That the why is not unanswerable except to say that, well, why not?
As for UCF Kitty, Ryan says he hopes he can bring people to his platforms as himself. Reporting in Orlando, Casey Stone, The Charge on Air. Orlando drivers, get ready for more eyes on the road. City commissioners recently voted to double the numbers of red light cameras across town. The ordinance is expected to return for a second public hearing and vote later this year. And if it passes, city officials say drivers could start seeing new cameras go up as early as next summer. UCF students looking to make a difference on campus now have a chance to bring their vision to life with a little financial help. The Lou Frey Institute of Politics and Government is now accepting applications for its 2024 to 2025 Student Micro Grant Program. Open carry is now legal in public spaces across Florida. The change comes after a court ruling declared the state's ban unconstitutional. Charge on Air reporter Laura Pineda shows us why this new law doesn't apply at UCF. After 238 years, we will be saying goodbye to the penny. On Wednesday, the U.S. minted its last penny. These findings were posted by the Institute just days after hundreds of No Kings protests transpired over the weekend. The protests were estimated to have nearly 7 million participants nationwide, making it one of the biggest single-day demonstrations in American history. Now let's see if I can wear my cute fall boots to the tailgate tomorrow.
I know. I'm trying to have a good hair day in my tailgate photos for once.
Let's check in with student reporter Melanie Gallardo to see our local forecast. Thanks for that update, Melanie. Coming up next, one UCF Knight sibling duo makes a splash at a tandem roller coaster event in our backyard. Shoppers can expect a tax-free holiday on emergency supplies as hurricane season approaches. The Knights women's basketball team hosted FIU yesterday at 11 a.m. for their school day game. That's all the time we have for now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on thechargenews.com.
Have a wonderful weekend, Knights.